the laughter that broke her. Sophia Bennett stood in the dimly lit apartment, clutching the edge of the kitchen counter as her hands trembled with emotion and disbelief. She had just told Ryan Carter, the man she loved for 3 years, that she wanted more from their relationship, not just casual dates and empty promises, but real commitment and a future together. Ryan leaned against the doorframe with his arms crossed, and a smirk spreading across his face that made Sophia's stomach twist into painful knots. The sound that escaped his lips was not warm or kind, but cold and mocking, as if her deepest feelings were nothing more than a joke to be dismissed. "You actually thought I was going to marry you?" Ryan said between breaths, wiping a fake tear from his eye. "Sophia, you're sweet, but you're not the type of woman a man builds a future with. You're just someone to pass time with until someone better comes along." The words hit Sophia like a physical blow, and she felt her chest tighten as tears began streaming down her face. She had given him everything, her time, her love, her trust, and in return, he had treated her heart like it was worthless and disposable. "How can you be so cruel?" Sophia whispered, her voice breaking as she tried to hold on to the last shred of her dignity. "Ryan, I loved you with everything I had." Ryan shrugged as her pain meant nothing to him and walked toward the door without looking back. "Love is overrated. Sophia, grow up and stop being so dramatic. Maybe if you weren't so needy and emotional all the time, you would have been worth keeping around." The door slammed shut behind him, leaving Sophia alone in the suffocating silence of her apartment. She collapsed onto the floor, her body shaking with heartbreak and humiliation as the reality of his betrayal washed over her in crushing waves. For days, Sophia barely functioned, going through the motions of life, like a ghost trapped in her own sadness. But somewhere deep inside her, a spark of determination began to flicker through the darkness. She refused to let Ryan Carter define her worth or destroy her completely. Ryan's behavior teaches us about emotional cruelty and the dangers of narcissism. When someone mocks your vulnerability, they reveal their own lack of character, not your lack of worth. True love respects and honors feelings, never ridicules them. Sophia wiped her tears and made a decision. She would focus on herself, her career, and her dreams. No man would ever make her feel small again. She would rise from this pain stronger, wiser, and unbreakable. Within weeks, Sophia threw herself into her work at Sterling Fashion Group, where she coordinated high-profile events for elite clients. Her talent for design and organization quickly caught the attention of industry leaders who admired her creativity and professionalism. One afternoon, while preparing for the annual Midnight Gala, the most prestigious fashion event of the year, Sophia's boss called her into the office with exciting news. "Sophia, you've been chosen to lead the entire event. This is your moment to shine." Sophia's heart raced with excitement and nervous energy. This was the opportunity she had been working toward for years, and she was determined to prove that she was capable of greatness, despite the heartbreak that still haunted her. As the gala approached, Sophia poured every ounce of her energy into making it flawless. She selected stunning decorations coordinated with designers and ensured every detail was perfect. But what she didn't know was that someone had been watching her closely, admiring her strength and grace from afar. Alexander Hunter, one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in the country, had noticed Sophia months ago at a charity event where her kindness and intelligence had captivated him. Unlike other women who threw themselves at him for his money, Sophia seemed different, genuine, humble, and deeply passionate about her work. Alexander made discreet inquiries about Sophia, learning about her recent heartbreak and the cruel way Ryan had treated her. He admired her resilience and felt drawn to her in ways he couldn't fully explain. Something about her spirit called to him. On the night of the Midnight Gala, Sophia arrived wearing a stunning emerald gown that hugged her figure perfectly. Her hair was elegantly styled, and her makeup highlighted her natural beauty, making her look like royalty. She walked into the venue with her head held high, determined to own this moment. Sophia's transformation shows us that self-worth comes from within, not from others' opinions. Investing in yourself, your goals, and your growth is the best revenge against those who underestimated you. The billionaire's bold move. The grand ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and elegantly dressed guests mingling beneath golden lights that cast a magical glow across the polished marble floors. Sophia moved through the crowd, ensuring everything ran smoothly, her heart swelling with pride at how perfectly the event was unfolding. Then she saw him, Ryan Carter, standing near the bar with a blonde woman draped on his arm, laughing loudly and showing off as if he owned the place. Sophia's breath caught in her throat, and for a moment, the old pain threatened to resurface. But she steadied herself, refusing to let him ruin her night. Ryan spotted Sophia across the room, and his eyes widened with surprise before his lips curved into that familiar, mocking smirk. He whispered something to his date, and they both looked in Sophia's direction, laughing quietly, as if sharing a private joke at her expense. Sophia felt her cheeks flush with humiliation, but before she could retreat, a tall, commanding figure appeared beside her, blocking her view of Ryan entirely. Alexander Hunter stood there in an impeccably tailored black tuxedo, his presence radiating power and confidence. Miss Bennett Alexander said, his deep voice smooth and warm. "I have been looking forward to meeting you all evening. Your work tonight is absolutely magnificent." Sophia looked up into his striking blue eyes, feeling momentarily breathless. She had seen Alexander Hunter in magazines and news articles, but never imagined he would speak to her directly. "Thank you, Mr. Hunter," she managed to say, her voice steadier than she felt. "I appreciate your kind words." "Please, call me Alexander," he said, extending his hand. "Would you do me the honor of joining me for a dance? I promise I am not as intimidating as the tabloids make me seem." Sophia hesitated, glancing toward Ryan, who was now watching them with narrowed eyes, his smirk fading into confusion. Something about the way Alexander looked at her with genuine interest and respect made her decision easy. She placed her hand in his. "Yes, I would love to." As Alexander led Sophia onto the dance floor, the crowd seemed to part naturally, people whispering and staring at the unexpected pairing. His hands settled on her waist with gentle firmness, and they began moving together in perfect rhythm to the orchestra's romantic melody. "You have been through something painful recently," Alexander said quietly, his eyes never leaving hers. "I can see it in the way you carry yourself with such careful strength. But I want you to know that whoever hurt you was a fool." Sophia's eyes widened with surprise. "How do you know about that?" she whispered, feeling vulnerable yet strangely safe in his presence. "I make it my business to know about people who interest me," Alexander replied, his thumb brushing softly against her hand. "And you, Sophia Bennett, have interested me for quite some time. You deserve to be treated like the remarkable woman you are." Tears threatened to form in Sophia's eyes, but these were different from the ones she had cried over Ryan. These tears came from being seen, truly seen, by someone who valued her. Across the room, Ryan stood frozen, his face pale with shock and jealousy, as he watched Sophia laughing and dancing with one of the most powerful men in the world. His date tugged at his arm, demanding attention, but he barely noticed her, his eyes fixed on the woman he had so carelessly discarded. Alexander's approach demonstrates emotional intelligence and genuine respect. When someone truly values you, they see your worth, even in your wounded moments. Real attraction is built on admiration, not manipulation. Alexander leaned closer to Sophia, his breath warm against her ear. "May I take you somewhere more private?" he asked. "There is something I would like to discuss with you, away from all these watching eyes." Sophia nodded, feeling a thrill of excitement mixed with nervous anticipation. Alexander guided her through the crowd, his hand protectively at the small of her back, as cameras flashed and guests whispered about the stunning pair. They stepped onto a private balcony overlooking the glittering city skyline, where the cool night air wrapped around them like a gentle embrace. Alexander turned to face Sophia, his expression serious yet tender. Sophia, I know this may seem sudden, but I believe in being direct about what I want, he began. And what I want is to know you better, to show you what it means to be cherished and respected by someone who recognizes your value. Sophia's heart pounded in her chest. This was happening so fast, yet something about Alexander felt right in ways Ryan never had. But I barely know you, she said honestly, searching his eyes for answers. How can you be so certain? Because I have watched you work with passion, treat others with kindness, and carry yourself with grace even when you were hurting, Alexander replied, taking her hands in his. I do not need more time to know that you are extraordinary. What I need is your willingness to let me prove that not all men are like the one who broke your heart. The price of new beginnings. Sophia stood on that balcony feeling torn between fear and hope as Alexander's words wrapped around her heart like a warm, protective shield. Part of her wanted to run to protect herself from potential heartbreak, but another part longed to believe that true love could exist. I need time, Sophia finally said, her voice soft but firm. I cannot just jump from one relationship into another without understanding what I truly want and need. Alexander, I appreciate everything you are saying, but I have to heal first. Alexander nodded with understanding, his respect for her boundaries evident in his gentle smile. Take all the time you need, Sophia. I am not going anywhere, but know that when you are ready, I will be here, waiting to show you what real love looks like. Over the following weeks, Alexander kept his word, sending Sophia thoughtful gifts, not expensive jewelry or flashy displays, but books she mentioned wanting to read, flowers from her favorite botanical garden, and handwritten notes expressing his admiration for her strength. Sophia found herself slowly opening up to the possibility of happiness again. She began meeting Alexander for coffee, then dinner, then long walks through the city where they talked about everything from childhood dreams to career ambitions to their deepest fears and insecurities. Educational moment. Healing after heartbreak requires patience and self-reflection. Rushing into new relationships without processing past pain often leads to repeated patterns. True transformation happens when we take time to understand what went wrong and what we deserve. Meanwhile, Ryan Carter was spiraling into jealousy and regret as he watched Sophia's transformation through social media and mutual friends. Photos of her laughing with Alexander at charity events, attending theater performances, and looking genuinely happy filled his feed, making him realize what he had lost. Ryan began calling Sophia, leaving desperate voicemails begging for another chance. Sophia, please pick up. I made a terrible mistake. I was stupid and cruel, and I do not know what I was thinking. You were the best thing in my life, and I threw it away. Please, let me make it right. Sophia listened to one message, then deleted the rest without hesitation. She had no interest in revisiting the past or giving Ryan another opportunity to hurt her. She was moving forward, and nothing would drag her backward. One evening, Alexander invited Sophia to his private penthouse for dinner, promising a quiet evening away from public scrutiny. Sophia accepted, feeling ready to take their relationship to a deeper level of intimacy and trust. The penthouse was breathtaking floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a grand piano in the corner, and elegant furnishings that spoke of refined taste without being ostentatious. Alexander greeted her at the door, wearing casual clothes that made him look relaxed and approachable. Welcome to my sanctuary, Alexander said, guiding her inside. I wanted you to see the real me, not the public persona, but the man who enjoys simple pleasures, like cooking dinner and playing music. You cook? Sophia asked with surprise and delight. I do, Alexander replied, leading her to the kitchen where ingredients were laid out on the marble counter. My mother taught me that a man who cannot feed himself or others is only half complete. Let me make you my specialty. As Alexander cooked, Sophia watched him move with confident ease, chopping vegetables, sautéing garlic, and sharing stories about his childhood growing up with immigrant parents who worked multiple jobs to provide opportunities for their children. Educational moment. Alexander's humility teaches us that true wealth is not just financial, but emotional and moral. Success means nothing without gratitude, kindness, and connection to our roots. They ate dinner on the balcony under the stars, sharing wine and laughter as their connection deepened into something profound and undeniable. Alexander reached across the table, taking Sophia's hand in his. "Sophia, I want to be completely honest with you about something," Alexander said, his expression serious. "There are people in my world who will not approve of our relationship, not because of who you are, but because you did not come from wealth or high society. I need you to be prepared for that." Sophia felt a flutter of anxiety in her chest, but she met his gaze with courage. "Are you saying your family will have a problem with me?" she asked. "My business associates and certain family members have expectations," Alexander admitted, "but I do not care about their opinions. What matters to me is you and how we feel about each other. I will protect you from their judgment and stand by your side no matter what happens." Sophia's heart swelled with emotion, knowing that Alexander was willing to fight for their relationship against opposition. Ryan had hidden her away, ashamed of her ordinary background. But Alexander wanted to claim her publicly, proudly. "I am ready to face whatever comes," Sophia said, squeezing his hand. "As long as we face it together, I can handle anything." Alexander pulled her close, kissing her with a passion that took her breath away. In that moment, Sophia knew she was falling deeply in love with a man who saw her, valued her, and would never laugh at her heart again. When worlds collide. The following months brought both joy and challenges as Sophia and Alexander navigated their increasingly public relationship. Paparazzi followed them everywhere. Tabloids speculated about their future, and social media exploded with opinions, both supportive and cruel, about their unlikely romance. Sophia faced criticism from strangers who called her a gold digger, claiming she was only with Alexander for his money. The harsh words stung, but Alexander reminded her constantly that people who did not know her story had no right to judge her worth. "Ignore the noise," Alexander told her one evening as they reviewed particularly nasty headlines together. "These people are miserable, and they cannot stand to see others happy. Focus on what we know to be true, our feelings, our respect, our love." But the real test came when Alexander invited Sophia to meet his family at their estate, a sprawling mansion filled with generations of wealth and tradition. Sophia spent days preparing, choosing the perfect outfit, rehearsing conversations, and trying to calm her racing heart. The dinner was formal and intimidating, with Alexander's mother, Victoria Hunter, presiding over the table like a queen surveying her kingdom. She greeted Sophia with cool politeness, her eyes appraising every detail from Sophia's dress to her posture to the way she held her silverware. "So Miss Bennett Victoria," said, her tones sharp and measured, "Alexander tells us you work in fashion event planning. How quaint. Tell me what exactly qualifies you to be part of this family." Sophia felt her cheeks burn with embarrassment, but she refused to shrink under Victoria's scrutiny. "With all due respect, Mrs. Hunter, I am not trying to qualify for anything. I care deeply about your son, and he cares about me. Our relationship is built on mutual respect, trust, and genuine affection, not on meeting arbitrary social standards." The table fell silent. Alexander's siblings exchanged surprised glances, and Victoria raised one perfectly sculpted eyebrow. Alexander reached under the table, squeezing Sophia's hand in support, his pride in her evident. "Well spoken," Victoria finally said, a hint of respect creeping into her voice. "Perhaps you have more backbone than I anticipated. We shall see if it lasts." Educational moment. Standing up for yourself with grace and dignity is crucial when facing judgment. True confidence comes from knowing your worth, regardless of others' attempts to diminish you. Never apologize for who you are or where you come from. The evening continued with less hostility, though Sophia's relationship with Victoria's remained complicated and strained. But Alexander made it clear to his family that Sophia was non-negotiable. If they wanted him in their lives, they would accept her. Meanwhile, Ryan Carter's desperation reached new heights when he showed up at Sophia's apartment one night, drunk and emotional. "Sophia, please, I am begging you. I cannot live without you. Everything I had means nothing without you in my life." Sophia opened the door, but kept the chain lock engaged, her expression cold and unmoved. "Ryan, you need to leave. I have moved on, and you need to do the same. What we had is over, and nothing you say will change that." But Ryan refused to accept rejection, grabbing the door and trying to push his way inside. "You belong with me, not with some rich guy who is just using you for entertainment. Sophia, you are making a huge mistake." Before Sophia could respond, Alexander appeared behind her, having arrived moments earlier for their planned evening together. His presence was commanding, and Ryan immediately stepped back, fear flashing across his face. "The lady asked you to leave," Alexander said, his voice low and dangerous. "I suggest you do so before this situation becomes more unpleasant than it needs to be." Ryan looked between them, hatred and jealousy twisting his features. "This is not over," he spat, before stumbling away into the night. Sophia collapsed into Alexander's arms, trembling with adrenaline and residual fear. "Thank you," she whispered. "I do not know what he might have done if you had not been here." "You are safe now," Alexander murmured, kissing her forehead. "And I will make sure he never bothers you again. I promise you that." Educational moment. Ryan's behavior illustrates the toxic pattern of valuing something only after losing it. Real love does not show up drunk and aggressive, demanding second chances. Love respects boundaries, honors decisions, and prioritizes the other person's well-being over selfish desires. Love that heals everything. In the weeks following Ryan's disturbing visit, Alexander hired private security to ensure Sophia's safety and filed a restraining order against Ryan, legally barring him from contact, protective measures. Sophia felt grateful for Alexander's protection, but also determined to reclaim her independence and strength. "I do not want to be a victim anymore," Sophia told Alexander during one of their morning coffee dates, determined expression. "I want to be a woman who stands on her own, who builds her own success, and who chooses love from a place of strength, not need." "And you are exactly that woman," Alexander replied with admiration. "That is one of the reasons I love you, Sophia. You have never needed me to complete you. You have always been complete on your own." Those words settled into Sophia's heart like healing balm. Peaceful smile. For the first time since Ryan had shattered her, she felt truly whole again. Not because a man loved her, but because she had learned to love herself first. Sophia's career flourished as she earned a promotion to creative director at Sterling Fashion Group, a position that came with increased responsibility, prestige, and financial independence, celebrating success. She no longer needed Alexander's wealth or status, she had built her own. Educational moment. True partnership happens when two whole people choose each other, not when two broken people try to fix each other. Healing must come from within before healthy love can flourish externally. 6 months later, Alexander planned an elaborate surprise for Sophia, a private rooftop dinner under the stars with live music, flowers everywhere, and a view of the entire city glittering below. Romantic setup. Sophia arrived wearing a flowing red dress, her confidence radiating from every step. Alexander stood waiting for her, his eyes shining with emotion as she approached. Loving gaze, Sophia Bennett. "When I first saw you, I recognized something in you that called to my soul strength, grace, resilience, and a heart that refused to give up despite being broken." Tears formed in Sophia's eyes as she realized what was happening. Emotional tears. "You have taught me that love is not about possession or control, but about partnership and respect." Alexander continued, dropping to one knee and pulling out a velvet box containing a stunning diamond ring. "You have healed parts of me I did not even know were wounded. Will you marry me? Will you build a life with me as my equal, my partner, my everything?" "Yes," Sophia cried, laughing and crying simultaneously. Laughing and crying. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." Alexander slipped the ring onto her finger and pulled her into his arms, kissing her deeply as fireworks suddenly exploded overhead, painting the sky with brilliant colors. Fireworks display. The moment was perfect, magical, and everything Sophia had once dreamed love could be. The news of their engagement spread quickly, dominating headlines and social media. Media frenzy. Ryan's name surfaced briefly as reporters dug into Sophia's past, revealing his cruel treatment and the contrast between him and Alexander. Ryan was forced to face public humiliation as people criticized his behavior and celebrated Sophia's happy ending, facing consequences. He released a statement apologizing for his past mistakes, but it was too little too late. The world had moved on, and so had Sophia. On their wedding day, 6 months later, Sophia stood before a mirror in her breathtaking white gown, feeling overwhelmed with gratitude and joy, happy tears. Her journey from heartbreak to healing to true love had transformed her into someone stronger, wiser, and more compassionate. As she walked down the aisle toward Alexander, who waited with tears streaming down his face, crying with joy, Sophia realized that every painful moment with Ryan had been necessary to prepare her for this beautiful love with Alexander. Educational moment. Sometimes our greatest heartbreaks become our greatest blessings, leading us away from what was wrong and toward what was always meant to be. Trust the journey, even when it hurts, because growth often comes disguised as pain. Alexander took Sophia's hands, his voice thick with emotion, as he recited his vows. Emotional voice. You are my miracle, my second chance at believing in real love. I promise to honor you, cherish you, challenge you, and stand beside you through every season of life. You will never doubt your worth again, because I will spend every day showing you how extraordinary you are. Sophia spoke her own vows with equal passion, strong voice. You saved me not because I needed saving, but because you saw me when I felt invisible. You loved me not despite my broken pieces, but because you understood that broken things can become beautiful when handled with care. I choose you today, tomorrow, and forever. They sealed their promises with a kiss as their guests erupted in applause, cheering and clapping. Sophia looked out at the faces of friends, family, and supporters who had believed in their love and felt overwhelming peace. As they danced their first dance as husband and wife, Alexander whispered in Sophia's ear, "This is just the beginning of our story. My love," gentle whisper. Sophia smiled, resting her head against his chest, listening to the steady rhythm of his heartbeat. Content smile. "And what a beautiful story it will be," she whispered back. "Because this time love is real, true, and built to last forever." Final educational moment. The greatest revenge against those who hurt us is not bitterness or retaliation, but living well, loving deeply, and becoming the best version of ourselves. When we heal, grow, and open our hearts to real love, we prove that their cruelty never had the power to destroy us. Our happiness becomes the evidence of our strength, and our future becomes brighter than any pain from our past.